figuratively. I think it's just figuratively, but yeah. Um, he's a dad who kind of accidentally owns a childcare business. How do you do that? That's interesting. And then three, he's a native Austinite who is forever curious, which is like my favorite kind of Austinite, right? So here to share his perspective on the intersection of creativity and growth, please help me welcome Taylor Powell.
Thank you, guys. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Like Ben said, I'm from Austin. I do a lot of different things. And one of the things I do is I've worked in video production for about 15 years. So is anybody in video media production? Yeah, all right, all right. So I came up that way. I've worked in Austin, New York City, and Brazil. That still is one of my lives, and we'll kind of get into that, and you'll see how all this intersects. There's gonna be a lot of threads in this, and they're all gonna come together. So you gotta like hold on to my brain for a second, right? I'm an artist. I'm a dad. The childcare thing, I'm not gonna get into that today, but if you want to ask me after, it's pretty wild. They're called For Children Only. If you have kids in Houston, send them to our childcare centers. They're really fun. And then as of this week, I lost a bet and I have to start training for an Ironman triathlon. Oh, really? It's supposed to be yay! That's how I am inside, right? No, I'm excited about that. I like challenges, so that's a hard bet to lose, though. I think through all this, though, I consider myself a creative, and I really like the mission statement of this group and groups like it, and that we all are creative, right? I think that that's something that I've talked to people that they don't think they're creative, or maybe they come here and they'll like get creative juices. You're all creative, right? And so keep that in the back of my mind when I'm kind of talking about this, because I was kind of I talked to Ben about the different themes throughout the year. And this month happens to be growth, right? So I was starting to think about that, and growth is kind of an interesting one, right? Like I think the first thing that popped in my head was like a certain type of growth of like, I don't know why, maybe it's because I'm a business owner. It's like growth, like profit, sales, GDP, like everything is growth, like growth in year over year and going over time, right? And growth marketing just kept popping into my head. Is anybody a growth marketer? You are? Okay. I want to find out what that is. I thought all marketing was aimed towards growth, but maybe I'm wrong, right? Bigger and bigger and better and larger, and growth is always desired to no particular end. Like that's like one type of growth, right? And I'm going to do the next 15 minutes talking about that. No, I'm just with you a little bit. Okay. I'm not talking about that at all. That's not the growth that I really want to talk about, right? There's another type of growth, right? And I see it in my two sons, right? Super cute, right? This was like a year and a half ago. And then you have like this growth, right? Like they're a lot bigger, but like the growth is in the hair, okay? And this one has had more lice in his life than I've ever known of anybody. Like he has like a buzz cut on the side now. So there's growth, right? And that's kind of growth that you know is going to happen. It's inevitable, right? But like there's a part of me that like, doesn't want them to grow, right? Like I love this age. I love it. I love all the previous ages, but they will grow. So it's like inevitable growth. You have like the business growth, the GDP growth, blah, 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 and then like the inevitable growth. And then I kept thinking about it and I was like, okay, I don't want to talk about that. So I plopped, I did something simple, right? I plopped creative in front of the word growth. And I started thinking about the creative growth in my life over the past few years. And I'm going to get to what that is. And it's a particular project that I've grown over 12, 13 years. And I'll talk about how that kind of became. But I think creative growth it's something that like winds and goes up and down and back and all around. It's not this like linear or like, this little curvy normal thing about like what growth is, right? So I think right now at this point, I want you to like think about, you don't have to close your eyes, but think about something in your life, think about your project, that one thing that maybe like in like a seed phase, or maybe you haven't done enough growth to it. And I would love to hear about that if you want to come talk to me after, or just think about it and go actually do it, right? So that's my like little tidbit of you to come here today and then go off with your day with that, right? So it's yeah. Okay, that was it. I kept thinking of like the best ways to like share this like creative growth concepts, and like my first thought was, people love analogies, right? And I was like, oh, it's like a seed, and it goes into the ground and then grows and plant, and that's just so stereotypical, right? Like that's, I you can tell I haven't spent too much time on like PowerPoint presentations because I kind of default to like the norm, right? So then I was like, what's like a little different? What's a little like weirder? And I went down this rabbit hole of cockroach life cycles. And people love cockroaches, right? Does that have a visceral reaction in front of anybody? No? How about this one? Is this one a little better? Because it's like a small nymph and then it grows and then that? No? Nope, nope. I like your face. Change the slide. I'll let it. Well, actually, it's kind of funny you say that because the like Microsoft AI said like, sorry, I don't have any ideas for this shit that you're like doing right now on your PowerPoint. It's like, no, screw that, no. So I think Microsoft is in on the anti-cockroach warfare. So I went on a bunch of different weird tangents, like the basal cell growth in my arm that I got cut out last week. I went on like lobsters don't really grow; they just molt. And like then I was like, that's kind of like a cockroach of the sea, really, if you think about it. So I kind of just was like, okay, I'm just going to tell a story because that's the best way to do this, right? I'm not going to go through like, oh, and this is the stage of seed, and this is the nymph cockroach stage, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to spare you that. So or like the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? So yeah, so no real thematic tool other than story time, right? So this particular project, and we'll get to the name. I'm not going to reveal the name yet, but like this particular project, I was in Hawaii, and I was living at like a weird hippie commune kind of thing, and I was actually trading video work for their marketing department in order to have room and board. So living my best life for sure. And lots of barter going on. All the hippies had no money. Really, really great place. If you ever get out there, it's on the Big Island. But I traded photo work, doing a lot of more photography at the time, for a massage. And I got this amazing, amazing massage, right? And I was sitting on the massage table, and I was thinking, I was like, there's not really a good, like, what is Swedish massage? Like, what is it? Where did it really come from? Sweden, right? What is Thai massage? It did come from Thailand. What is all these bodywork different modalities that I've grown to love, but I don't really know what they are, what they mean. What's the story behind them? What's like the real benefits, right? So as you can tell, I'm a bit of a nut about massage, about like body work, right? I don't think it gives it's not given the credit that it deserves. Okay, I think in the U.S. we think of massage and body work as a luxury that you get on vacation, maybe once a year, right? Whereas you can go to some places in Europe and spend the equivalent of $20 and have a whole day at like a hydro massage with saunas and everything else. That is changing in this town, so that's really great. But I think that there's something there, and the kind of hustle culture that we surround ourselves in. And I really think there's actually something really beneficial in taking care of your physical shell, your physical body, right? So this interest isn't just awesome, to study and think about all the ways you can relax the physical body, but it's a little bit altruistic. There's a whole point to that, and I think a good creative project does have a higher purpose, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. So I I was there, I was taking photos. I was like, oh man, I know what I'm gonna do. I am going to make a coffee table book, right? The like creative, who has ever dreamed of like coffee table book status, right? Has anybody made one? Yeah? Hell yeah. What's yours about? Oh, that's even better, right? That's amazing. My girlfriend's right there. I'm not gonna make a coffee table book yet. So like the like gold series is Taschen, right? Is that how you say that? Taschen? I've always said it like that, right? It's like coffee table book, right? Like it's beautiful, it's printed right, it has like the right colors. Here, hold that. It has like you can look at it. It has like that's the standard in my mind at the time in my like early 20s about like what you have to do to like make it and succeed and like there's no like there's physicalness to it, your digital work goes into a physical form, right? And I was obsessed with that idea. So like it was just a pinnacle of success to me. And I mean, how many people in this audience have a Taschen coffee table book like in their house? Pretty good. Like I'll lie, that's like 40% right there. Um, so in that was the dream, right? So I started this whole phase of information gathering and research, and it's lasted about 12 years. And I've probably had the same Apple Note that is like probably the longest and oldest Apple Note of just like brain dumping all the time. But it's symbolic in the sense of how you kind of organize thoughts in your brain, but also like the different conversations you have about a project, about growing a project, right? And at this point, it's just like everywhere, right? You're just thinking, you're like kind of feeling it out. Like you're making your coffee table book. What does it have? What does it not have? What should I do? And the really cool thing is I've had conversations, and I'm sure I'm gonna get one today about like people come up to me like, oh, you really like body work kind of stuff? And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're like, oh, have you heard of like, where they stick pins in your arm and then like hit you in the face and then like slap mud on your back, And you're like, no, what is that? And they're like, oh, that's in Ethiopia. Go there and do that. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna write that down, right? You get interested and you're like in this information suction gathering phase. So that was really, really fun to have. And I think I'll never be out of that phase, because once you get interested in something, it's just like all the layers just kind of unravel at that point, right? So years and years of that, taking notes on every body work that I would encounter, every conversation, really experiencing it, breathing it in, and then like getting a ton of massages and like, you know, putting it on the business expense card. That's like it's really what it's all about. Um, you know, Saltwater deprivation tank in South Africa, like sign me up, right? Sidewalk massage in Vietnam, let's go, right? Like sketchy lava rock sweat lodge, like sure, right? All for this like coffee table book, this future project, this future growth, right? And you just got to let that creativity grow in any way that it finds itself. Um, More on my, I love that Apple Note. It's just like it's taken many different forms. So, over time, I developed kind of my art form and my work. Worked in camera departments in New York and Austin. I lived in Brazil and Rio de Janeiro woo woo, for a good little while. And I actually came across this one particular director that I kind of became obsessed with, right? His name is Tarsim. Does anybody know Tarsim? Okay, nice. Couple of geniuses right back there. It's like 4, so this is gonna be great. Tarsim's an interesting cat. So he had his kind of like heyday. He's still very active, but he did a lot of commercials, right? A ton of commercials. And I was working in commercials in New York at the time, so commercials are really interesting. They're like music videos. You get to like try new stuff out, right? Especially as a director or as a cinematographer or as an art director, really. And he took this approach where he was doing a lot of that, but he really wanted to make films. That's what he really was getting into. And he made a film with Jennifer Lopez first called The Cell. Anybody know? Kind of spooky, kind of weird. It's really cool. that horse scene. You know, if you know, you know. I'm not going to describe it right now, but it's pretty interesting. He made that. It was kind of like well received. He made another film though called The Fall. Has anybody seen The Fall? Okay, you should totally see this movie. It's really awesome. I love it. It's one of the most visually stunning movies you will ever see. It is totally underrated, and I think it got like a couple bad ratings from some people, and like they just didn't, didn't blow up like I think it should. Um, so he wanted to make this movie, and he made it over 4 years, pretty much self-financed, really. And how he made it was, and he shot it in like 24 countries. You can see just some of this screen, my like horrible pixelated screenshots, but like really beautiful set design, amazing stuff, a lot of practical effects, a lot of stuff shot in camera, and just the colors and visuals are absolutely amazing. Bali, India, Italy, France, Spain, Namibia, China, everywhere, right? And so how he did this was he would go and take a Pepsi commercial in India, and specifically say, no, we need to shoot this in India. And then he would shoot everything, and then like the last few days he would grab like a skeleton crew, and he'd put that skeleton crew on his own movie set. He said, hey, I'm going to pay you guys a couple little extra, just stay on for a couple more days. And they're like, yeah, sure. He would fly in his like core cast, and then he would shoot it almost like ad lib. He would use the place in order to make the thing that he wanted, right? He wrote the script. He was the director. He was the producer. So he had this like beautiful creative control over this film, and that just like it really like stuck with me, right? Like the idea of utilizing what is available to you to make something that you really really want to be in existence, right? So kind of put a pin in that again, right? Tarsim making really cool stuff. I do have a note that his dad called him. He grew up in India, and then his dad called him, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I want to study film," and his dad literally said, "You don't exist anymore." So that's harsh, but he showed his dad in the end because he did well. Okay, so over time, my interests and professional work switched really from photography to cinematography to really producing and directing and actually making content. And I made what is now my other business is Prismatic Pictures, right? So with that, I started doing a lot of travel. I started filming in some really interesting places. I have a little niche in the identity industry, specifically passports. So I would go film little mini documentaries about passports all around the world in some weird places. Like, do you know where Bahrain is? Yeah. Okay, pretty good. I've been there, and I know everyone in that whole country. From from 1 week of literally filming everything there is to film in that country. So if you want to ask me about Bahrain, I got the hookup. It's a tiny little island just outside of Saudi Arabia, just in case you're wondering. So with that, I kind of started to get a little like Tarsim vibes, right? Like I started to film and do these different things in these different places, and with the production company, and it's I would actually find myself getting, after a big long job, I would get, some body work. I would do that deprivation tank in South Africa. I would do these kind of weird things, right? And so I would actually start at the time the idea of the the idea of the coffee table would fade away, right? The coffee table book. And it really more became how do I utilize my interview skills? How do I utilize all these things I'm doing in other ways to create my own project, right? So that Apple Note slowly became something real. I would start to shoot when I was in Hawaii, interviews about massage, about different things, and start to kind of do the little Tarsim trick, right? In order to make what I really wanted to make. And that eventually became bodywork, right? And at some point, I realized that number one, someone had beat me to the game, and someone made an amazing book called Thermal, that is the coffee table book that I always wanted to make. And you're talking about journeys, right? And then like I actually looked it up, I bought it, I was like heartbroken for a day, and then I just I reached out to the author. Her name's Lindsay Bro, and we became like great friends, and we're gonna collaborate. So I think it's all how you navigate this, right, in this creative project. And the fact that someone does something that you wanted to do doesn't necessarily mean that your project is over, right? So bodywork became this kind of this manifestation of that Apple Note, of all these years, of all those massages, of all these things. And what it is now is an idea that's still very much growing, and it's basically looking around the world on how people care for their physical shell, for their physical body. And it really is meant to be accessible. It's meant to look at the nicest, the lowest, the freest, the most interesting ways that we actually relax. Because I do think if we relax a little bit more, or if you get your friends to relax a little bit more in your physical shell, you're just going to have a better day. And each better day is going to be, make a better world. There is an altruistic kind of fact to that in my mind. No, that's not a slide. So what its current inception is a YouTube channel. And I love YouTube because I love going down YouTube holes. There's so much good stuff on there now. And you can take a look, you can subscribe, whatever you want to do. But they're 3 to 4 minute little bite-sized documentaries, right, on these different modalities, these different projects. And it's just goes to show that I don't know where it's going to go. I have some great ideas for it. It's still growing. But the creative path, the creative growth that we all go through is not there to there, right? It's like up, down, up, around, swirling through, back, ups and downs, defeats, moments of enlightenment, moments of just like, damn, that's awesome. Moments of like, oh, I don't even know if I should do this. It's a really interesting way to grow. So I've kind of, with this presentation, it kind of got me thinking, and I really don't like the word passion project. Who like says passion project in their vernacular? Good, no one does. That's awesome. I think it's much more, I'm going to start calling it a growth, right? So it's a growth in the sense that these ideas, they're going to grow, they're going to do something, but you got to actually do them. You have to take the action. You have to actually build it. And my most recent, oh, it's not on here. Okay, cool. Perfect. Better timing. You have to grow that project. You have to do it. There's all these little projects in the back of our heads on our Apple Notes, right? And you have to kind of bring it into reality. So please share that. If it's not with me, share that with someone else. Share what you're going to do, what you're thinking about. Even if it dies, you're going to make another one. You're a creative person. All of you are creative people. So I love growth. I'm going to call these things growths now. They're not passion projects anymore. And thank you. Thank you for your time. Awesome.